close that door. I'm a little too ADHD for that. Okay. We'll hang out with this later. My name is Allison Wilkinson. Did everybody in here get we're not doing the practice map today. We're doing advocacy. We're doing You're the Foundation. Let's do this one, huh? Thank you for your patience with me. This is crazy. I'm Allison Wilkinson, and I have no ed degree. So can I tell you my story a little bit so you know who you're hearing from? Okay, when I was in my undergrad in ways back, I wanted to be an ethnomusicologist. I had done a ton of ed, obviously, I'd come through the high school system, but I just thought that I would be more important and more special if I did ethnomusicology. Also, I grew up outside the US, so I was really interested in how other people did music. That was my excuse, but I just thought, even in my school, which was a big ed school, they were like, you know, you can get your ed degree, hang out your shingle, and that's how they talked about it. So I didn't get my ed degree. And I actually had to leave my degree early because of a family tragedy. So I didn't get to finish then. And when I left, the best thing happened to me, which was that I had to get a job. And I got a job at a local Montessori school. And I was an assistant in this school. And they said, hey, why don't you teach music? And I was like, okay. But I didn't have any, except for my own educational background and the stuff that I knew from ethno, I had no experience. So I started teaching and was mostly making it up because I had no idea what I was doing. None idea. But I was getting everything from Montessori. And then all of a sudden I was getting students who had Down syndrome, or students who had ADHD or autism, or all these different things. And I was like, I need to know what's going on in the brain, what's going on. So I started getting as much music psychology as I can. And I really had to but I had to go look for sources in the UK, because that's mainly where this work is happening, is in the UK. So I was doing all this research, doing all this good research, getting it both into me and through to my students. And I did that for 18 years. And I had no idea that what I was doing was not standard. I had no idea that what I knew wasn't what all music teachers knew. So in 2020, everything was blowing up, and I started talking to some other music teachers, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, you do that because of this, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, because that's how the brain works. And they're like, that does? And it turns out that there is a big gap in what most teachers understand about what most music teachers understand about the brain. There is no music psychology requirement for an undergrad for music ed, is there? Is there here? So what I want to share with you today is a really clear picture of music psychology that should be easy, like usable tomorrow. You should be able to go into your classroom and use this tomorrow. And then I want to talk about why understanding that is going to be really beneficial for you and hugely beneficial for your students. But I have a question first. Oh, actually, I have a warning first. This may be how you feel. This is me. Yeah, I'm happy about it. This is you. I'm going to try to take this slow, and I'm going to try to be kind, but it might feel, as you're listening to me, as though you're thinking to yourself, this sounds so interesting. This is what mostly happens. This sounds so interesting. I want to know more about it. If you want to know more about it, there is so much free stuff. That's the wrong website, but you can get to the website from there. You can take as many pictures of these slides as you want, guys. I'm not going to be hurt. The actual you can get there from there. So I'll just leave that. And there will be connections later. Ready? Can somebody answer this question? What brought you to this session, other than me being like, please come to this session? Yes. Right. Something lost in translation. I'm not sure what you're talking about. All first-year teachers are just perfectly smooth. They walk into their programs with no issues. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, actually. That's really helpful. Anybody else? What brought you to this session in particular? I'll go here and then here. Yes?
Like it's either told or complete prep, and then whenever that happens, I work on I need to do this so that this to the next class can be actually smooth and not be like every. And then I look up, oh, it's 5:00. I was supposed to clock out like an hour.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. What? Okay. All right. I'm getting a picture. Yes.
We're just coming back from break, so ready to go. And for me, this time around, it's been like, wow, yeah, I'm feeling worn down myself.
Yeah.
But I know that my kids feel the same way too. So when I saw the thing that was like for you and for your students, I was like, sign me up.
Yeah. This is actually, I think that's often the bigger sell for teachers. If I hadn't put that line in there, which is actually very, very important, if I hadn't put that line in there, I wouldn't have gotten any teachers, because teachers tend to put themselves here because you guys are doing really super important work. That's not an opinion, that's a scientific verifiable thing I'm going to hopefully, let me see if this works this way, that I'm hopefully going to be able to actually communicate to you today. Thank you for sharing that with me. Today we're going to talk about burnout. Has anybody ever, we're going to talk about emotional dysregulation, your emotional dysregulation and your students' emotional dysregulation. We're going to talk about your students' emotions when they're learning. This is maybe the best thing that I can give you. Does everybody have one of those blue cards? Did you all get one? You got it? We're going to go over that. That is a practice map, which shows, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there, Allison, calm down. I'm overexcited. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you about applied music psychology, because that's the big title, right? The Master's in Music, Doctor of Music, Applied Music Psychology. But I'm actually not going to get that technical with you, and I kind of want you to, I don't want you to be offended that I'm making it easy. The reason I'm making it easy is because I had to make it easy for myself. I was a busy music teacher at the time that I was using this information the most. I did not have time to go get a master's, and I needed it to just apply right now. So I've got great news, and these are all going to be leading questions. You ready? So I am headed somewhere with this. If a student came in and they had this, they were like, Miss, I have this, right? Okay, what would you do? And please don't say send them to the nurse. That's legitimate, but what would you do? Band-Aid? Say it again.
Clean the wound, Band-Aid.
Okay, yeah, clean the wound and put a Band-Aid on it. Why, what? For sure, yeah, that's their leg will maintain, yes. But tell me more about this. Why would you clean it? Infected, what is an infection?
It's your body not.
Is your body not being happy? Somebody give me that's an excellent student answer. Somebody, yes. Okay, excellent. You're going to save yourself a lot of trouble. Yeah. Are you a bacteriologist? Okay, you're a microbiologist. You're hot darn. Yes, you're a mom. Okay, so there was a technology that came out in the mid to late 1800s called a microscope. We got this microscope, we had this technology, and knowledge improved, right? We all of a sudden could see the germs. There were no questions about it being vapors or anything like that. We could see the germs. We knew why these things were happening. That knowledge disseminated to doctors, but today, doctors are not the main people who clean out wounds. It's moms and dads, but mostly moms. Realistically. And you don't have to have your degree. You can actually save your child's life with the level of knowledge you have. That's the level of knowledge I want to give you about music psychology today. You can do real good stuff with what we know, and the technology is new. The functional MRI came out in 1997, and it has given us more information about music in the brain than we knew for all the rest of human history. They called the brain the black box, and the black box is slamming open with functional MRIs. So, ready? Here's your brain. That's the image. Again, feel free to take as many pictures as you want. I know this is a complicated diagram. So this, in particular, is a Porsche 911 because I'm a Top Gear fan. But it has to be a Porsche because Porsches are rear-engined. The engine's in the back, the trunk is in the front, and of course, the driver's in the middle, right? Our brain is set up the same way. We pack information in the front of our brains. We move from the back of our brains, and in the middle of our brains, there's a driver. You all with me so far? Okay, let's dive in just a little bit. Okay, take the heel of your hand, put it on your temples, and then just cross right over your forehead like that. Okay, if you go about an inch deep, that is the part of your brain that thinks, and that's it. It's the only part of your brain that thinks. Is anybody confused? Is that surprising to anybody? Like, oh no, okay, well, it was surprising to me when I first learned that because I assumed that my whole brain, right? But actually this part of your brain is the only part of your brain that thinks. It's the only part of your brain that does words. In fact, go ahead, left thumb on your temple. I almost did that kindergarten thing where I used my right, so you'd use your left, but you're very smart. Okay. That size right there on the left part of your temple, that's all you get for word creation. Yeah. And power in the brain is determined by space, like real estate. So that's all you get. So when you ask a kid to tell you like, hey, how do you feel about that music? That's how much they've got to be able to come up with words, right? Also, this is where higher level consequence prediction is. So this would be like, oh, somebody over here was talking about impulse control. So this is the part of the brain that goes, if I jump off this refrigerator, it will hurt. This part doesn't really develop fully for a long time. And it's really, really not developed at like 2, 3, 4, 5. You ever notice that kids are surprised when something bad happens? And you're like, you should have. The one thing that kills me is when adults are like, you should have known that. You should have known better. It's like, nope. You knew better, but that doesn't mean they should. Okay, if you are asking a kid, so let's get more practical. If you're like, what is the name of that note? That's where they're getting it. That's where they're getting that information. Is that a quarter note or an eighth note? It's an eighth note that's coming from that part of the brain. You're asking them to engage that part of the brain. Let's keep going. Okay, I have not thought of a better way to do this. If you have thought, if after this you're like, do it this way, I'll do it that way. Go up your spine, your neck, and there will be like a divot. You guys find it? Okay, if you were to skewer that, you would have a hindbrain kebab, which is gross. Take a look at it really quick. You see how tight these folds are compared to up here? You see how like this is me folding a fitted sheet, and this is my 11-year-old folding a fitted sheet, okay? There is so much surface area here. It is incredibly powerful. In fact, this part of the brain has 10% of the mass and 50% of the power. Want to know what it does? I mean, you guys know because I said it was the engine, right? Anything you can do automatically has been learned by that part of the brain. So let me get specific here. Anything you can do now that you could not do the day that you were born has been learned there. This wasn't in my notes, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Remember how I said, tell me what the name of that note is, and you tell me the name of the note and it comes from here? What do they have to do to execute on that note then? They have to go back here. This can create some problems with sight reading because this journey is really tough. Getting information from here and then activating it from here, that's really tough. Let's talk about that later. Okay, all learned behaviors. Anything, how many of you in here are banned? Raise your hand. Okay, yep, that's all loaded. Every fingering is loaded back there. So you can tell a kid, oh, put this, 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 and this. But actually, in some ways, it's better to just show them because eyes are right here. Visual processing is right here. You can see and do and see and do and see and do. But sometimes if you explain and then do, that's a problem. You see, the midbrain is where you, did anybody jump? Okay, I was like, I didn't. Usually the whole room levitates. And you guys were, it's really anticlimactic for me. How many of you have a little bit of a racing heart right now? Okay. I just activated your midbrain. This is where your emotions live. This is where your instincts for survival live. And I just activated your instincts for survival, by the way. Like I just made your midbrain. By the way, when I screamed, did any of you go, oh golly, I'm a little startled. I'd better raise my heart rate. Your forebrain didn't process that, right? This part of your brain doesn't think, it just reacts. It takes input from your environment, it creates an emotion, and from that emotion, you decide what happens next. Wisdom is balancing midbrain stimuluses, which come from everywhere, and forebrain information. That's what wisdom is. It's balancing what you know with what you feel, and what you feel with what you know. Do you mind if I say that again? The mechanics of wisdom is balancing what you feel with what you know and what you know with what you feel. You actually can't make decisions without this part of the brain. And I'm not saying philosophically you can't, like, oh, you can't make decisions without consulting your feelings. I'm saying you are physically incapable of making a decision without this part of the brain. There was this great study, and again, you can take pictures of this. It's a lot of words, which I know is irritating from a presenter, but I'll tell you the story. This great guy named Antonio Damasio, Dr. Antonio Damasio at the University of Southern California, which is a great institution. He did an experiment with people with damage to structures in their midbrains, to the emotional centers of their midbrains. And he just asked them, hey, do you want a turkey sandwich or a chicken sandwich? And they couldn't decide. They kept asking for information. Their forebrain kept asking for information. What's the caloric intake? What's the B12 content? What is, like they kept getting information, but the more information they got, it didn't actually give them a preference. Preference is an emotion. When I say that the midbrain is key to decision making, that bothers some people because they like to say, oh, actually, I'm very rational. I'm a very rational decision maker. You may be able to access your forebrain a little better, but you cannot be an only rational decision maker because you have to have some emotion attached to the decision, or else you can't make it. You have to have, they didn't have a preference, so they could not decide. They asked, do you like this or that football team? Do you want to wear this or that sweater, right? Wisdom is balancing what you feel with what you know. I really want to do this thing and I know I shouldn't, so I'm not going to. And it's also balancing what you know. Okay, I've got all the information about the universities that I want to go to. I know what all the benefits are, and I can't decide. Where do you want to go? What you know with what you feel. There's a balance there. This is also the seed of motivation. People don't do what they don't want to. Even in that situation where I just said, oh, I really want to do this thing, but I know I shouldn't, so I won't. Sometimes I really want to do this thing outweighs, I know I shouldn't, but I won't, especially in children. And it's adults who have to learn, actually, I want the good outcome of not doing that thing more than I want the thing right now, right? This just happens to also be the region of the brain where we process communicative sound. When you hear a sound, it is communicating something. All sound communicates something. Music is simply taking that sound that communicates something and exaggerating it. That is all it has ever been. 2/16 notes and an eighth note. If you're in a wood and you hear that rhythm and that crescendo, it is communicating something to you, and it is touching this. Oh my gosh, what should I be doing? I have an emotion as a result of hearing that in the woods. When you get it exaggerated with not hooves, but drums, you get that same reaction in a safe context. You get the emotional reaction without the original stimulus. It's called the peak shift effect, if any of you guys want to look it up. It's fantastic. What this means, guys, is that when you are teaching your music students, you are non-optionally in the area of their brain where their deepest emotions are. You have no choice. It's not like, I just want to, I just want them to be thinking today. They are feeling while they are making music non-optionally. You are the only teacher at your school that has this kind of access to midbrains, which means you are uniquely set up for incredible benefits to your students. You are also equally set up for the potential for most damage. Let's keep going. If the midbrain is musical, and it is, then what I want to tell you is that the emotional state of your student is going to determine what they are able to accomplish. If your student is not in an emotional state where they are capable of learning, they won't learn. Actually, that's just true in general. If a midbrain is in, well, particularly if a midbrain is in fight, flight, or freeze, and that could come from inside your classroom or outside your classroom, more often outside, right? They come in with midbrains that are hot, hot, hot. The midbrain will suck blood from that forebrain. It will suck blood and just keep it all right there. So it's actually impossible to be afraid and learn at the same time. But I said that you're the foundation how to do self-care in a way that creates optimal mental health. And I've been talking about your students. This is what your student's brain is like. So why am I talking about that when I said I was going to be talking about self-care? There's something really, really important to know here. Midbrains talk to midbrains. Did you hear how intense that was? If I in my midbrain am angry, that's going to come out. It's going to come out visually. It's going to come out orally. And children in particular, they are very tuned for survival because they're children. They can't survive without you. They can't survive without you. So they are very tuned to your midbrain state. However you feel, they're going to pick up on it. How many of you can forgive me, but how many of you can say amen to that? That however you are, your students are going to notice it, even if you're trying really hard. Midbrains talk to midbrains, and midbrains influence midbrains, which means your midbrain absolutely requires care. How you feel is the foundation for how your class will go that day. If you have questions about any of this, write them down because I leave the last 15 minutes for questions. Did somebody have a water bottle that I can use? Oh, there's one here. I got it. Okay, thank you. What just came out of this water bottle? Water. Why did water come out of it? Actually, water came out of it because water is what's in it. As a teacher, it's a hotel, I don't care, they can figure that out. As a teacher, whatever is in, you're gonna get hit. You are gonna get whacked. Some kid's gonna be a flaming example of, thank you, flaming hot Cheeto. Thank you, yes. They're going to be really excellent in right in your face. The administrator's gonna get right in your face. There's gonna be some chick you just hate. And when you get hit, whatever is in you will come out. That's why what is in you is so dang important. Okay, so let's talk about burnout, dysregulations, and processing emotions. I'm gonna go as fast as I can. Can I ask you a question? How many of you have felt close to burnout before? Let's just start there. You do not have to share, but does anybody want to share what situation created a little bit of burnout for you? Anybody with that? Anybody else want to share? You don't have to. Yes?
Constantly working
Okay, what midbrain state does that leave you in? And I'm asking, what emotions are you feeling? But it's a midbrain state. What midbrain state does that leave you in? You're set up for exhaustion. And then you have to come into a classroom and you want your students to have energy for what they're doing in that day. And you want your students to have energy for being excited about the music and being excited about practice, but you don't have it, right? That sucks. How did that come out? Yeah, that's pretty succinctly put. I have an acknowledged pattern now myself where every 3 months, it's getting a little bit longer actually now that I self-reflect. But for a long time, every 3 months, I just felt like the absolute worst teacher in the whole world. And actually, that was just a midbrain state that just came in waves. And once I recognized it was a wave, I was like, oh, I'm in that wave right now. It has no reflection on reality or what's happening right now. I'm just in the wave. It's very, keep an eye out for that because there are other people who do that too. Okay, and then the natural question is, how does your burnout midbrain state influence the midbrain states of your students? But I'm going to keep going. How do you deal with burnout? There are actually practical ways to deal with burnout, and it is not necessarily take a bath, have a bath bomb. I'm all for that, by the way. You have my permission if that is like what you need. But these 4 things are the things that will get you scientifically the most remediation from burnout. One is 1 whole day every week. It's not that you do nothing because you're not like laying on the couch watching TV, but you're not touching whatever it is. And it is remarkably difficult to do this. This is not an easy lift. People are like, oh, it's so easy. Just rest, baby. And then it's like, oh my God, like there's almost like my phone, like, I mean, like, what's going on? This is very, 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 very important. And this is where you do all the self-care things you individually need. Right? You don't know how to do this? The top thing. It is the most difficult thing to do. Are you lazy? Okay. Well, good. We've answered the question. Burn in daylight. Yeah, this is a uniquely, well, I won't say it's uniquely American, but we certainly have a lot of this. Can I say that this comes from psychology and it comes from anthropology. This is a rhythm that regularly has existed throughout time and throughout cultures. This is a well-recognized, understandable thing. In fact, I'm in Louisiana. Can I just say, like, take me to church right now? What is I think it's the 3rd commandment. There's a 4th commandment. So yeah, so I don't know. It is very important to work hard. If you can do the work that it's necessary to even get yourself to consider it, start with a half day. Start with saying, I'm going to spend this morning doing something really cool with my kid. Because that counts as rest. And what you're doing is you're not working, but you are investing in your child. So that's getting something done.
I've been teaching almost all year, and I'm very good at it.
I bet.
I'm honest, but I'm not sure how to do a good job and then go home and do it there too.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it modeled? Have you ever seen another band director, somebody in your position whose relationship with their family is just killer? Yeah. Yeah. And it might not be easy to find because we all grind super hard, right? And we're trained that way in school. I just said this yesterday, as I was told, as soon as you put your instrument away, as soon as you close that case, somebody else is opening theirs up. So you just keep that case open. You just keep practicing. And that grind mentality is where we all live. I'm going to keep going because there's more stuff to do, and I will take questions in just a second. Morning in peace, no phone. I'm preaching now to myself. Morning in peace. As much peace as you possibly can. Evening in peace. Pick a time of the day when you're not going to look at emails anymore. This is not for you. This is for your students. The more you do this, the better you will be in front of your students, the better outcomes your students will have. Your students will This is not only the research, it's my experience. Your students will practice more. You will get more students in your program because you will be filled with joy, and midbrains talk to midbrains. If I'm happy about my job, you're going to want to come with me, okay? And then if you're going to exercise with a friend, the alpha waves, the crazy stuff that happens in your brain when you exercise with a friend. And I am not talking necessarily go out and kick your own butt. I'm talking take a walk with your friend and solve all the world's problems, because that's when you do it, when you talk with a friend. Let's keep going. I'm not going to get through everything I was planning on getting to, and we're going to be okay with that. Thank you. Thank you. If your midbrain really is that important, and it is that important, then you're going to have to be very careful about what you consume and what you meditate on. And I'm not talking om, I'm talking about what you allow your brain, what you allow your forebrain to consider. I'm in this state right now because I'm worried about a few things. I don't want to be worried, and I'm actually having to train my brain away from it. So, first of all, good failure. Do you guys know what that is? I failed so well. You know what that is? We all real comfortable with that. I'm sensing a sense of deep comfort with that concept. Consider good failure. I'm going really fast now. Put strong filters on input and strong filters on output, especially if you can tell your midbrain is in a big state. And think through that meditation piece. You are thinking about something at all times. For the sake of your students, for the sake of your teaching, for the sake of you, start the practice of considering what you're considering. This is self-care, guys. This is self-care. I think I'm going to have to keep going because I really do want to. Okay, so this is how you do that. By the way, all those things I just said, this is how you're going to do that. First thing you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to say, if my life were perfect, what would it look like? Not what would my life look like if it was perfect in this situation? Be like, if my band program were perfect, what would it look like? If I was getting done what I wanted to get done every day, what would that look like? And from that, it's going to reveal to you your priorities. And as soon as, so for example, I was running a program and somebody told me to do this. It was a fantastic guy. He told me to do this. And I was like, oh my gosh, my students are burnt out. I have not focused on joy. And I reprioritized. It took a long time because I was resistant. When I reprioritized joy, because that was a high priority for me, because joy is very powerful. And I know that. I mean, I'm a music psychologist. I know that joy is very powerful, but I wasn't prioritizing it because I was getting pressures from here and pressures from here and pressures from there. I reprioritized joy and the rest of it sorted itself out. We all of a sudden were winning festivals. My students were practicing all the time because they were happy to do so. So you're going to reprioritize, then you're going to restructure, just usually these things, and then you're going to refocus. What was my purpose for getting in here? I'm going to stop because you can see there's a lot. I am happy to share my slides. This one's very important. This is this practice map, okay? This is what it takes to, I am going to go through this. Unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I can't do. The emotions with that are fear, but also excitement. Okay, the emotions of conscious incompetence. I know exactly what it is that I can't do. The most common emotions with that are pre-discouragement. This happens with super talented kids. Oh, I can't do it. I quit. Or frustration. I'm trying. I really am trying. Why can't I do it? Okay. I don't know what I can't do. Conscious competence is I can do it, but I have to be so thinking all the time. And that's where most of practice is spent. This is what practice is. This is figuring it out. So if someone's like, I figured it out, it's like, great, you're here. This is practice, and this is different kinds of boredom. And then this unconscious competence, I can do it without thinking, which leads to the full flow state, sublimity. I told you this was going to be like a fire hose, so let me get you access to here. This is my this is not my website. Dingleberry. Hold on a second. I'm going to fix this. makingmusicians.com. That's my website. That's my handle on Making Musicians is my handle on TikTok. It's my handle on Instagram. There is free stuff. Go to that website. There is so much free stuff. This practice map that I just gave you, it is there, printable for free. There is all sorts of stuff on there. But now what I want to do is I want to listen to your questions. Yes, I can. Actually, hold on. Allison, you don't need to be doing this. Hold on a second. There we go. Now I'm satisfied. So do you want to go back and talk about what you were saying? No, he's busy. Oh, yeah. Go get, yeah. And do you guys have Instagram? Because I've got free stuff like crazy all over there. They would. Your desire to want to not be lazy.
Yeah, I got 2 side hustles.
Yeah.
Sit there, so I guess I need to sit down and do it.
Yeah, I'm going to hear what you have to say in just a second. Biologically, growth comes during periods of rest. This is true of biology across the spectrum. Things that are constantly put under stress break. That is a biological reality. If you're not lazy, and it is obvious that you are not lazy, you will be made to be lazy when you break. That's a personal story. I ground really hard right up until I got cancer. And then I spent 6 months in bed crying, not because I had cancer, but because I wasn't productive anymore. My whole identity, I'm being very candid with you now, but my whole identity was in what I could produce, and I couldn't produce a dang thing, and it took 6 months for me to say, I am a valuable, worthy human being, regardless of what I put out. 6 months that took me. So take your time. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
In a session with somebody, they ask, about that. So do you think they're less confused? You don't. And I still do, but that really puts some things in perspective.
Your body won't let you keep doing that. It'll break you for your good. Bodies are really smart. Brains are really smart. They will give you what you need, whether you think you need it or not. Yeah. Do I have any other questions? I would love to connect with you. Let's stay in communication. Yeah. Do we have any other questions about any of this stuff, guys?
It will be there, and on the flip side, I'm trying to other people's. So at midnight, I want to email somebody. I schedule it for like 7 days.
Yeah, you should have done this session. This is exactly correct. Well done.
I mean, it's not much change in my life. It has just given me
Peace. Sorry, I was just triggered your midbrains again. Yes, peace. Brains require a level of peace to be able to rejuvenate. And if your midbrain is important, and it is important, you have to have peace. You were going to say something, and I interrupted you.
and I still am in that state of where like the Peter Pan looking for a shadow. And
Yeah.
I was like, who am I? Where am I going? As a mission, you feel powerful when you're on stage and you're conveying and you're demonstrating. And I was lost in that moment. Couldn't save anybody. I couldn't do nothing for myself. And I was in therapy because I could not function. And my therapist said one thing to me that was similar to what you said to me. She said, well, what if and you're trying to, these deadlines, they all go away. And no one's there, somebody else is going to be there to pick it up. Well, what about you?
Mm-hmm.
What about you in that moment and how you could have found peace for yourself? Once you break, there's no coming back. It's a constant regaining of self.
I'm going to add something to that, actually. There is no honor in working so hard that you break. There's no award. No kid goes, man, my dad worked so hard that, let me see. My dad worked so hard, I never saw him, and then he was in his bed for the rest of his life, and I'm just really glad he made those decisions. Usually it's going to be like, I don't know why my dad didn't just take a minute and just spend a minute with me. Usually that's what they think. And when they're older, they might go, okay, I understand why he did it. But nobody's thinking, man, that was still a good decision. I have a plane to catch. And my session is over anyway. Let me share a couple of things. So first of all, this was a lot. There's lots on my website. There is a book. I'm just letting you guys know because